The Coast to Coast Entertainment Network would like to thank their proud sponsors for their support of C2C programming. Beside Me Bracelets, Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, Reaper Apparel Company, and Good Day Embroidery. The Elite Draft League would like to thank the following premier sponsors for their support of the inaugural 2024 EDL season. Craft Coast Brewery and Taco Stand. Play It Against Sports Scripps Mira Mesa. The Answer's Yes. And Roller Dad News. We have entered the postseason for the San Diego Elite Draft League's regular season. We are coming back at you after a bit of another hiatus for the Puck and Roll podcast, but back with you folks on this beautiful Friday evening, September 27th, 2024. Filling in for the esteemed colleague Gabe John is our League Commissioner Josh Fountaine. Joins us for another episode of Puck and Roll. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, back with you folks here. Both of us here in San Diego. Mr. Commish, we made it to the finish line almost. Now we enter the league postseason coming up on Saturday night. Josh, good to see you, my friend. How we doing tonight?
Good. Good to see you, Callan. I'm just glad the temperatures have come down a little bit. It was so hot that final stretch of the season, and glad we got some cooler temps heading into the playoffs.
Cooler temperatures finally. Again, the last couple of weeks of the year was just miserable. I think there was a week in time in late August, early September. It was like over 106 degrees at game time, and it really didn't cool off too much. But now that we're late into the fall season now, we are able to thankfully have some nice weather for the postseason as we, in fact, get the playoffs started on Saturday. But, of course, folks, Puck and Roll is the official podcast covering the San Diego Elite Draft League. Again, coming at you here tonight for a special Friday edition of our program that leads us into the kind of the regular season recap into, of course, talking about the postseason. Again, we had a pretty big major announcement made by the league front office earlier in the week that will culminate with the league championship game coming up in mid-October due to schedule reasons. And we'll have plenty more about that in our next block of the show. But again, if you folks are joining us live on Facebook or on YouTube, again, fire away with some live comments. Again, hot takes or cold takes, what have you. Drop them in the live chat box. We'll do our absolute best to ensure that your commentary is read live on the air right here this evening. Well, Josh, we got to week 10 of the EDL season, and it finally came to fruition with some league history. The first ever game to go beyond the two halves of play into overtime, into a shootout on last Saturday, with the Del Mar Bandits, my man, snapping that long losing streak after losing 6 consecutive games. They are able to knock off the Mission Bay Ospreys in a shootout, 6-5. The final score last Saturday over at Kit Carson Park at the Escondido Sports Center. And this really, though, Josh, was more of a game that did not really bode much for the postseason standings. Del Mar, again, had that 6-game skid, started off the year kind of hot, kind of tapered off a bit to the end, though, losing some players, whether it was overseas commitments or, guys have lives away from the league, though, but able to get that win, though, to at least, get that L out of the win-loss column for the streak, and then Mission Bay battling this game all the way to the very end and going to the shootout. But Josh, mainly more than anything else, this game was so fun. I mean, it was obviously, number 3 seed, number 4 seed playing, but even then, though, man, it went beyond overtime. There were so many chances, goalies standing on their heads for both teams, and it goes into a shootout with Jake Pribble being the overtime or shootout hero, I should say, in this contest as he nets the game-winning goal in the shootout to give Del Mar the win over a very good Mission Bay team, who, again, was already locked into the 3 seed on Saturday. But, Josh, we came close a couple times, man, to there being a couple of OT games, shootout games, or just even that first overtime game. But, Josh, it comes down to the final week of the regular season where we finally get to go beyond regulation time. But Josh, you were actually out there playing for Mission Bay again, with them also missing some bodies. You were out there as well, wheeling and dealing, getting an assist in that game. But Josh, going from the streaming perch now to the rink and kind of seeing this Del Mar team play during this, 6-game skid, they really seem like they were rejuvenated by having, Jake Pribble back and maybe having Aiden Barty as their lead guy in goal. Josh, did you happen to maybe notice anything different from the broadcast side of things the last couple of weeks to being on the floor playing against Del Mar from the Mission Bay perspective?
Yeah, to start things off with, better late than never for the last game of the season to finally see our overtime and shootout rules in effect. So, and even more fun that I got to participate in that game as well. To answer your question, I think it came down to the Bandits had their best players be their best players. So both Jake Pribble and Colton Grover notched 3 points apiece, and Greg Andrews was supporting with 2 points as well. So in a game that went all the way to a shootout, that's all you can ask for is when the guys that should be contributing the most do. And they did, particularly with, like you said, Jake being the shootout hero. Both goalies stood on their heads. I had a chance to go and review the stats right before we hopped on here. Both tendies had 28 saves, which I think may be a record. There were so many shots during that game. And they were keeping shots on the outside. Both teams did a really good job of, making the shots easy for the goalies to see. But those tendies were also getting peppered too.
It kind of became a shooting gallery for a bit. And again, hats off to Matt Malo and also to Aiden Barty, who, again, some of the younger kids in this league, Josh, in goal, kind of coming, under siege at a couple points in time. But even then, though, Del Mar, as you said, they got a hat trick from Colton Grover, 3 points from Jake Pribble. They got a goal from Omid Arjaman, an assist from Keith Gurr, who, again, he's kind of also been has missed some time. Lars Eriksson scoring again. And again, Aiden Barty, 23 saves, 28 shots faced for Del Mar. Then, Josh, kind of going to Mission Bay's perspective again, with you being on the floor for the Ospreys. Jason Everts has looked solid all season, 2 goals and an assist. Andrew Day's been fun to watch, 1 goal, 2 assists. Team captain Noe Santos, 2 assists. Yourself having an assist in the game. Nate Robert also scoring. Mike Rounds also scoring. And Matt Malo also played very well, but again, comes up empty with that shootout goal from courtesy of Jake Pribble. But maybe, Josh, from your perspective now, again, going, as I said earlier, now you're on the floor kind of seeing firsthand Mission-based team. We talked about their speed all season, man, and they really got to a lot of open areas, a lot of those, chances there, or chances in general. Josh, your perspective, seeing it firsthand about Mission-based play, because we said, though, man, Gabe and I said it, me and Gabe have talked about it, that their speed would be a factor throughout the course of this season.
Yeah, I think this was the first team that we saw gel. They figured it out pretty quick. I think that was their biggest strength right off the top, because Noe picked a team that was going to play a certain way, and they were missing key pieces in that match that I participated in. So that's Joe Kubani, Georgie Godinez, and Noe Eton for the final regular season game. So those are 3 significant pieces that on draft day, you're counting on them. And of course, the reality is not everyone's going to make every single game. There are rarely guys even in the NHL that play all 82 games. It's uncommon. So to go and play for the whole season, that's a big ask. So yeah, not having Joe Kubani on the floor, big body, smart player, great shot. He's morphed his game into what the Ospreys need. They needed guys that can put the puck in the net. Now, outside of Joe, Jason's been that guy. Mike can be that guy, but consistently going and potting goals. That's been Kubani's game. That's what I saw missing from that particular match, the 10th game of the regular season, where guys putting shots on goal and then driving to the net. Everything else about their game was fantastic. Their breakout was, buttery smooth. That was fun. Getting the puck out of the zone through transition, going the other direction, no problem. Once we got past the circles into the offensive zone, that's where it's like, yeah, we're definitely missing these guys. And those are important pieces too. Georgie Godinez, an underrated part of his game. He's got a great shot. And from the top of the circle, throwing it at the net, he puts it in really prime spots. And we miss Georgie, to be quite honest. So I liked how we played, but we need our shooters.
Josh, maybe if you can, like, take viewers into that adrenaline rush of overtime, and especially with it being in roller where you're playing 4-on-4 at all times. Again, this isn't 5-on-5, like ice hockey, the NHL, or the American Hockey League. But mainly, Josh, like, maybe explain more of the like, intricacies when you're playing overtime in roller. Again, I know that we go to 3-on-3 still, but even then, you're kind of already playing with open spaces is 4-on-4. Now you take one more player off the floor in 3-on-3. What really can that do, or does that bring to the table, though? I know that obviously we have enough spaces but it really it was really fun seeing it for the first time come to fruition. But also, I think more importantly as well, though, Josh, but probably folks don't know though about the OT under our rules. That clock is running all the way to the very end. There's no stop time in the overtime period.
Yeah, and there was another wrinkle too heading into overtime. So I think that we still had a power play up on the board when
I
the
think that
final
is
period
correct.
ended,
Yeah.
going right into overtime. But you go from 4-on-4 in regulation to 3-on-3. So there was a little bit of confusion there. So I made sure that the referees knew as soon as we were getting ready to drop the puck for overtime. I was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna have a 2-on-3 disadvantage." I can't remember who was in the box for Mission Bay. But
I
the other
believe it was
team was
Mike
like,
Rounds may have taken the late penalty, I
yes,
wanna say.
that's right. I believe you're correct. So having a 3-on-2, like one more body short, you rarely see a 4-on-2. That's not a super common configuration. You see a man advantage situation there. But a 3-on-2, even more uncommon. And there's so much room on the floor. So, yeah, the adrenaline rush of going into overtime with all that space, but even more so with the additional man disadvantage from Mission Bay. Yeah, a lot of rink width to work on the floor. We killed the penalty when I was participating in that game and had a scoring opportunity, but going all the way to a shootout was pretty thrilling.
And I think, Josh, what I can remember, seeing it firsthand with that big of a disadvantage, so much open space. I believe it was yourself and I believe Noe Santos were the main two penalty killers for what felt like over a minute, if not longer. And both, obviously two defenders, and then your goalie just trying to survive and kind of get through that, that penalty kill. And speaking of one of our players in the league, our good man, Wes Langlow says bad form from Mike Rounds in regards to taking the penalty late in the game. I mean, Josh, any thoughts? I think Wes is right, though. I mean, you obviously don't want to take penalties, but in that kind of situation, though, tough.
It kind of is what it is, right? That's part of Mike's game. Is he's a chippy player. He goes hard in the corners. Every team needs that guy. And that's something with different teams that I've, put together over the years. And, people that are tuning in, if they've played tournament hockey, if you're a little undersized and you play a bigger team, it's a disadvantage to not have that, someone with, more grit, a higher BMI, going grind it out in the corners. So it's the hazard of the play, but you need a hard-nosed player like Mike, and those penalties happen every once in a while.
So again, folks, a great game to win the first half of Week 10 last Saturday with the Delmar Bandits snapping their 6-game skid and winning over Mission Bay in a shootout, the first one ever in EDL history by a final count of 6-5 in a 3-round shootout. Jake Pribble with the game-winning goal in the shootout after both teams survived the 5-minute running clock OT for, again, first time ever in San Diego EDL history. With that, Josh, in mind, we'll segue to the battle of the season. It boiled down to the final game of the regular season for the number 1 overall seed, the regular season championship, and the Temecula Vineyard Vipers. Wes Langlow's Temecula Vineyard Vipers coming basically out of nowhere, man, to reel off 6 straight victories, I believe. And Wes caps it off with a 5-goal game as Temecula bites back and beats North County 8-5 in a great game that decided the number 1 overall seed for the upcoming postseason. And Josh, we were kind of talking a bit before the show, and I think that you may have ran the numbers that Wes may have caught Ray Kinsey for the top spot aboard the leaderboard for scoring this season. But Josh, maybe what do you think has been Temecula's main ingredient for this turnaround? They kind of got off to a bit of a shaky start early, but man, they got hot like week 3, week 4, and have not looked back ever since.
Yeah, one of the things that I looked at when I went through each roster, so we get done with draft day, we're taking a look at kind of how the chips fell, right? And every team had guys, but you look at Temecula and they had a bunch of individuals that could go bar down if they wanted to. If they played the right way, they could put the puck in the back of the net. From Logan Wise to Wes himself to Mata, a bunch of guys that know how to play good hockey. And they just were not gelling for those first few games. And I think a big piece, and not to belabor it, but having Matt Hamilton back was, I think, night and day. You could see the difference. So Matt stabilizes the locker room, stabilizes, how they're playing together, is that calming presence. And I think that's a piece whenever you're putting together a team that people kind of glaze over, they forget about. But that's an important part. Having a chemistry glue guy like Matt on your team is important. And on top of that, he's a big body. So he's able to go in and control the puck in the middle of the floor, distribute really well. He's fantastic at that. But in crunching the numbers, once this team caught fire, Wes was on pace for a nearly 26 goal season in a 10-game season, 26 goals. Had he been able to play all 10 games. So, of course, in the 7 games he did participate in, he got 18 goals, if I remember correctly. But at the end of the day, Ray Kinsey runs away with the scoring title with 31 points and 21 goals. Pretty good. So
pretty good considering it's only a 10-game regular season. And I also think, Josh, we talked about Wes and we talked about, Matt Hamilton again. Matt suffers a very, scary, almost career, in a way, career-ending, life-altering eye injury the week of the opening week of the season. He's gone for the first, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and he comes back. And I think you said it right. I think Gabe even said it a couple times. Just his sheer presence, like, reinvigorated Temecula and brought them kind of in a way back to life almost, I'd say. But I also, though, look at some other guys on that team. I think of last week's Player of the Week, Chad Lewis, who I think had 7 points in week 9. Anthony Mata has always been, he's always played hard throughout his entire career and even throughout this entire season. Again, having seen him play firsthand, in my early days of my announcing career up there. Then, guys like Rylan Farwell, who's also played well in spurts. Evan Medeiros is playing well, but also I think, Josh, like a glue guy like John Quirk. Again, doesn't really, show up a lot though, but when he does show up, reading on a stat sheet, it's a big moment. It's a big assist. It's a goal here, another assist here. Maybe, Josh, how about the, supporting cast that's really, I think, helped, guys like Wes and Matt really, in a way, lead Temecula to that number 1 overall seed this season.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought those guys up. So having experience played with Mr. Quirk. Also, happy birthday to John Quirk. He celebrated a birthday here recently. Shout out to him.
Happy birthday.
Johnny's fantastic. He's a beauty off the rink, beauty on the rink. Guy knows how to play puck. So, and then Chad Lewis. I've played a bunch of games with Chad, and that guy is one of the smartest players I've played with. There was a tournament that we played. There was a Corona regional with Narch that we skated. And, most of my teams are a bunch of old guys like myself. We're mid-30s. And I've got a couple of, young guns like Noe, and we're sitting on the bench. And Chad Lewis is playing with my Maverick squad, and he goes basically end to end, walks the entire team, and goes bar down. Noe looks over. I mean, he's never met Chad, has no idea who Chad. He's like, "Where do you find these really good old guys? You keep finding them." And I mean, that sums up Chad, though. It's just he is a stone cold killer, knows how to put the puck in the net. So I'm glad that he got, I think, 6-7 points last week. Showed up on the stat sheet in a big way, but I've known that he's capable of that, and I'm glad that it's shown up this season.
And from going from Temecula, Josh, to North County, and again, this game had everything riding on it. Number 1 seed. Just having like that de facto division championship, regular season championship banner kind of hanging. North County, though, in this game, Josh, played very well, though. They got contributions from Brian Pino and Anthony Dykes. 3 more goals for Ray Kinsey. But more importantly, I think, though, Josh, 4 apples for A.J. Wright, their team captain, who I believe you said, I think, kind of in a way, walked handily away with the assist record this season. And even with him missing time as well this season, I believe, A.J. Wright, man, constant team player for North County this season. Your thoughts on how North County looked, though, despite that loss on Saturday last week?
Yeah, I think North County's biggest advantage is that I call them the all vibes team. They have so many guys with great attitudes, great vibes, and the key with, maintaining a certain level of success during the season is you don't get too high when things are going good and you don't get too low when things are going bad. So AJ Wright is one of those guys, and they're filled with, guys that are even keel, they're controlled. But AJ in particular, it's like he's vocal, he passes well, he shoots well. He's got a great shot, but walking away with, 11 assists on the season, it's impressive. Even though he missed a number of games, that's just their team. That's their mentality. It's team first. It's positivity, and not letting things get too low when they're not going their way.
So to recap week 10 in the final week of the regular season, it is the Del Mar Bandits over the Mission Bay Ospreys in the first ever league overtime and league shootout game 6-5, while Temecula secures the number 1 seed for the upcoming postseason. They defeat North County 8-5 to round out the inaugural regular season. I guess, Josh, before we go to break, and we'll kind of talk about this when we get come back from the break coming up here in a second, is we made it to the end of the regular season, Josh. Very much a great regular season. I think I think Josh got to see firsthand what you had envisioned when we started talking back in April, and even come tryout day and draft night, was hoping that there'd be parity, that these guys would take this competition in this league seriously. And I've been on the soapbox of, like, if you're a part of the San Diego hockey community, you should be proud of what has been built here by Josh, by Gabe, by myself, and by these players on these 4 teams playing in the inline hockey community, up in Escondido. And I guess, Josh, maybe before we go to our first break, maybe some rough, like, in a nutshell, kind of Cliff Notes thoughts, I guess, about how this regular season did pan out.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier with how this season has gone. From people's enthusiasm with opening night, engaging with the social media content, even showing up, when it's, not the best conditions, when it's triple digits, like we talked about at the start of the show. We still had all our games go off. Granted, we had to make some concessions. We had to make sure that we had fans so guys wouldn't pass out. They've got some air circulation on the bench. Our referees have, lots of cool beverages to make sure that they're hydrated. But I couldn't be happier with how this season went. I think every team was capable of going 10-0. If everything went perfectly, every team was capable of having a perfect season. But yeah, I love the attitude, the engagement, the enthusiasm, and I'm already stoked for next season, for 2025.
Yeah, and I know that, Josh, we've talked about this so many times in the lot post game, after we wrap up and, DoorDash comes by, we crack open a couple of cold ones, but in reality, though, you kind of have to begin to storyboard for 2025. I mean, we have 2 weeks left, pretty much, de facto 3 games left, 2 on Saturday and then the league final on October 12th. But really, you kind of have to already begin storyboarding stuff for next season. I mean, we're kind of already storyboarding stuff for puck and roll for next season, when it boils down to, some, live streams from either, the Fountaine Garage or, from Craft Coast Brewery, things like that, though, where we're already kind of, in a way, going that far. And I know that we've already have, discussed, very heavily about, do we expand to 2 teams? Do we try to begin looking at, a crossover tournament with the Irvine EDL? What else do we do? And we're already kind of beginning to lay that foundation as time has gone on. We will, though, folks, step aside real quick. But first, we do want to get to 2 more quick comments here. One more from Wes, who wanted to congratulate Ray Kinsey for getting that top scorer award. And also our good man, Chad Lewis. Fellas, look, I'm only as old as I feel, gents, and I feel 29.
Chad's a beauty. Love Chad. Yeah, he neither one of us moves like we're the age we actually are. So Chad in particular shoots as good as he ever has.
And by the way, Chad, please tell your parents for their thank you for their support. They have been probably 2 of our biggest social media fans, between I believe your dad and your mom, always, supporting you and also supporting all of us with the league. So please tell your folks thank you very much for their unwavering support throughout the season. All right, guys, we're going to step away for a minute. When we come back, we'll get to a bit of a preview for what to expect with awards, the postseason and what is in store for the playoffs, and also a very exciting announcement regarding the league prize at the very end of the Golden Road for the season. We're back in a moment here, folks, on the Puck and Roll Playoff Primer in just a moment. The Elite Draft League would like to thank the following sponsors for their support of the inaugural 2024 EDL season. The Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, Hockey Night Insider, R&R Productions, and Wild Dog Marketing. Welcome back, folks, to the playoff primer edition of the Puck and Roll podcast, covering all things San Diego EDL alongside our league commissioner and our fill-in co-host, Josh Fountaine. By the way, folks, our good man, Gabe John. As you folks probably know, or may not have known, but Gabe has kind of been away for the past couple of days. He's been battling some of that late summer, early fall, like flu bug going around. So hoping Gabe is feeling better. So Josh Fountaine, our league commissioner, slides into the co-host chair alongside Callan McClurg this evening here for our playoff primer edition of the Puck and Roll podcast. So with that in mind, Josh, as we said before we went to the break, very exciting regular season. And now, Josh, we get to the fun part, which is the league postseason coming up on Saturday. And with that in mind, Josh, I understand that you wanted to make an announcement regarding a couple of individual player awards that were in the works, and I believe we can now make those officially official, my friend. What do you got?
Yeah. So with the two individual player awards, one was something that I announced on, I think, the About Us page. One of the pages describing the draft league was the MVP wrestling style belt. So one of the things that I wanted to do was make this league fun, make it engaging and memorable. So how do you go and kind of, differentiate yourself from, the other leagues and not just make it another men's league? And that was kind of a tired tagline by the time we got done with promoting. It's like,
we
not
never
just
put it on
another
a shirt.
men's
I was a
league.
little upset about that.
I know it was so
Maybe
close
next
to
year
making it
we'll
on
work
a
on
shirt.
that.
There's a couple of things that we're going to put on shirts, Callan. So
if it involves a word that we have to use, like the @ symbol, the hashtag, and the cash money sign and the percentile sign, sign me up.
That is correct. Yeah, that shirt's going to get made at some point. So inside joke for those watching. So, anyways, the MVP wrestling style belt. The MVP will go and get to sling it over their shoulder, be like Stone Cold Steve Austin, once they win, Monday Night Raw. Like it's going to be cool. So stoked for that. That's going to be, we're going to be taking into account a couple of different things. The regular season is a factor with the MVP determination, and that's going to be awarded at the final. However, the other individual player award, I'm actually going to grab that right here, sitting next to me on my desk. And with the green screen here, you're not going to be able to see all of it. But this is the top scorer award that is going to be given tomorrow, because that winner is Ray Kinsey. He will be the recipient of this trophy. So super stoked to be handing that out. And unlike the championship trophy, which we won't be revealing that quite yet, the top scorer will get to keep the award that we hand out for that. And the MVP will also get to keep that wrestling belt. So that is a commemorative thing they get to hang on to, remembering the season that they played.
Yeah, and it's a good memento, I think, Josh, for and again, I think back to like week 1 and hearing Colton Grover, for example, who said, "Hey, I grew up with the Baldwins. I've grown up playing hockey and here in my hometown of San Diego, and it's nice to be have a league like this at my disposal now, where again, we've talked so much, Josh, over 10 weeks of a season, about how you've played in Irvine, you've played in Covina, you've played in Corona, and now it's nice to have a spot in, locally to play. And I think it really means that much more, to a guy like Colton Grover or the Kinseys who have grown up here, being able to take like that slice of home, like a slice of home with them now with, the top scorer award and then the league MVP. I think, Josh, the other big question about the MVP is, I believe we've been kind of discussing this kind of in a way. what will the voting procedure look like for the league MVP? I think we've talked about like a small committee amongst the front office, maybe team captains, maybe Scott Silvis, Brian Dunn, in our officiating crew, maybe even Lucas and Desiree, who've been our top-notch stat rats this season. But Josh, maybe what do you probably consider as the most logical option for the MVP voting to take place for the league MVP award?
Yeah, I think having a panel like you just described is the best way to approach this. We got to go and take into account a little bit of the regular season. It's just like when you look at the MVP when they hand it out at the Stanley Cup final at the championship where they're handing out the cup. There's some weight that's given to the regular season as well as their playoff performance too. So we've got a short runway for the playoffs in our inaugural season. You've got a semifinal, and you go right into the final. So that may not be the case next season. Not hinting at anything, but at least for this 2024 summer season, the regular season will be taken into account. But it's going to be a player that's in that championship game. So it could be someone that scores the game winner. It could be a goalie that absolutely stains on their head. But that is going to be decided by the people that have been there the most, and that's going to be our officials. That's going to be yourself, me, Gabe, and the scorekeepers. So that's going to be a collaborative effort to make sure that we come to the best decision.
Ray already loves the trophy, says it looks beautiful.
It's going to look good on his mantle, isn't it?
It's going to look good somewhere in the Kinsey house with all the other awards that those two have stockpiled over their careers. I can just tell you that much right here and right now. And Ray, believe me, I tried very hard to convince my fill-in co-host to name the damn trophy after the Commissioner's Award, like how Major League Baseball names the trophy for the World Series champions after the commissioner, but he wouldn't take the apple, sadly. So I'm a very tiny bit little depressed, but down the road, I'm sure that we'll have more to come eventually. With that in mind, Josh, now as we actually talk about Saturday, again, it's going to be our final doubleheader of the season. Now that we go to the semifinals, but also as well, though, Mr. Commish, some cool things are lined up. I won't hint at one thing that I've been working on for one of our teams playing in the postseason when it comes to in-game entertainment. But Josh, there was a very cool announcement made earlier Friday morning about some fan engagement activities that will be taking place, including some food vendors, I believe, and also even some of our league partners will be coming down from Orange County or from the IE to come and check out the league and show off their support, and also hopefully maybe have some merch, who knows. But Mr. Commish, what can you lay out for us for Saturday for the grand opening for the postseason?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I'm most excited about is one of the guys that was instrumental in getting the league off the ground. You can't have a league without uniforms. Look good, play good. That's been hot hockey for us. So Brian Arguello, the guy that is the face of H3, he'll be in attendance. Really excited to have him. He'll be part of the group that's presenting the top scorer trophy to Ray Kinsey. So Callan, yourself, me, Brian Arguello, we're all going to be shaking Ray's hand and giving him that trophy. So couldn't have done this without Brian. So very excited to have him. Other decision makers there with the city of Escondido, they're going to be in attendance. So super glad to have all of these people that have played a part in making sure that we have a good start and given us what we need. Grateful to have them there. The other one is our friends over at Kona Ice. So everyone loves shaved ice. If you don't love shaved ice, I don't know what to tell you. It's fantastic. It's vegan. It's gluten-free. Checks a lot of boxes. So like we put on social media, bring your family, bring your friends when they're watching their favorite EDL player and enjoy a sweet treat. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it'll still be just warm enough outside to justify having shaved ice. But that's the luxury we have living in Southern California. It's still warm enough to have an iced treat.
Absolutely. I recall whenever I've gone to Yuma, I have family who lives out there, and usually when we go out there, it's like in the middle of the summer, and it's hot in Arizona almost every day imaginable. But they would always have a shaved ice truck in the neighborhood, and they would always come to the place that we'd be at. And, everyone would just, run out the front door and go grab some shaved ice. And it was, like $2, I think, maybe for the very large cone. And I've seen those, at like the Little League events I've worked and at other, major functions. So can never go wrong with Kona Ice as well. And also, I think Josh, I think what's cool though, Josh, about what you also said though, I think it's awesome though too that we're extending that olive branch to the city of Escondido, like the city council and board members and reps of the city to come out, who really again have made inline hockey possible and have made Kit Carson Park available to not just to us though, but for everything else that goes on there. Again, I played many baseball tournaments when I was younger at Kit Carson Park, and that facility's been, first class and top notch for my entire life when I played up there. Josh, maybe from your perspective, is it like not really how crucial, but how cool is though knowing though that the city now wants to get behind the EDL and they will come and that they're coming out to show their support coming up on Saturday for the first two games of the postseason.
Yeah, I love it. And I think we're fortunate too that some of the decision makers here with the Escondido Sports Center, they've been involved with hockey for a long time, whether it's our um, coordinator for the league for making sure that the men's league scheduling goes out. She's been involved for a long time. She had family that also played. Other people that are involved, they've been intimately involved with the leagues for as long as I can remember. Talking to other people, they've been day one folks. So it's really cool. So I know that they're excited about it. Everyone wants to see roller hockey grow down here. That's been involved so far. So that's a privilege.
Josh, we're going to actually cut to break real quick before we talk more about the league final and the other announcement that was made. But I do want to get, though, speaking of the devil, I wanted to get to Stephen Lewis's comment again, Chad Lewis's dad. When we had thanked him on the air, Stephen said, "You guys are absolutely welcome. I've appreciated your support for the EDO with this league and your streaming. It's amazing and very much appreciated." And again, Josh, I think that right there makes me feel so good, other than being a part of everyone's, time playing in this league. But it's this kind of response that makes it that much more sweeter, I guess. Because again, we started this thing from square one, grassroots, boots on the ground, three, you, me, and Gabe, and just built this thing to where it's at now. And I think, like we said, I think Josh last episode was, not only Chad's dad, but also when we talked about how cool it was opening night, having the stands basically full behind the penalty box area, and that more people have come out. Friends have come out of the players, spouses, girlfriends, wives have come out, friends of mine have come out. I think, Josh, I think that's probably all you might have asked for when you kind of got this idea, but maybe your response, I guess, to, kind of hearing it firsthand from Chad Lewis's dad about how the EDL has been received already and seeing it kind of firsthand here.
Yeah, one of the things that I always look forward to is Mr. Lewis whenever he comments on the stream, because myself or Gabe or whoever is running the stream that day, we make sure that we're responding to people when they have questions like, what's the score? What's, this penalty for? We try to go and give as much information as possible. But Mr. Lewis's engagement, we're grateful for it. But I think from the day one, I wanted to make sure that we catered to the hotbed of talent we had here in San Diego. We shouldn't have to go to Corona or Irvine for all of the high level tournaments up there. And I know I've said that before, but it's we've got great talent right here in our backyard. Let's make a league and let's have fun.
Yeah, and that kind of went back to the point I talked about a little bit earlier, and what I talked about pretty heavily, like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 about. But I think when you hear it firsthand from Colton Grover, the Kinseys, all the guys who are locals, that it means that much more to them because they really haven't had that opportunity, I guess, to do so in San Diego if they're born and raised natives like myself or the Kinseys or even Colton Grover, or even, Chuck Baldwin, for example, who, again, we know, Josh. And before we go to break, actually, I think, Josh, I think we'd be remiss as a roller hockey podcast to not salute and congratulate both the U.S. Senior women and men who went over to Italy and wiped the floor clean with basically every team they played against overseas, including our own Chuck Baldwin and our own Etan Shavira, who are playing for the men's senior team, and one of our own, too, in Allison Era, Tia Stoddard, who are playing for the women's national team over there. Josh, I think, we, all of us in the roller community were watching, man. But again, I think it's only appropriate that we give them a salute here on Puck and Roll as well for their wins over in Italy at the World Skate Games.
Yeah, that was a privilege to see so many people that I've also had the chance to skate with too. Those guys, those gals, those men, those women, they're so good. I don't know if you've had the chance to skate with Eton, with Laura Varanta, with Tia Stoddard, with any of those folks that won gold. They're head and shoulders above, the competition. And it was so cool to see all of those players play together on their respective teams and on an international stage too. Super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw this quick story out before we go to break. Was right around or during the COVID shutdown, the only place that was really open for business for hockey was Forest Ranch, the concrete rink off of Del Norte Drive up in the Scripps Ranch, Forest Ranch area. And me and my ragtag group of friends who, again, we haven't played competitive hockey in years, or we were just starting out, just showed up because I found it randomly searching like where we could go play roller, because we had just all of us just bought in brand new Bowers from Pure Hockey in Anaheim back in February of 20 when we went to see the U.S. national team for women's hockey play Canada at the Pond. And I'm like, hey, there's a rink in Forest Ranch. Like, it's open to the public. The county runs it. So we show up there, and lo and behold, it's Tia Stoddard and Pat Miller and all of their friends skating. And, we were kind of like minding our own business. Like, we don't want to really infringe upon their game. And Tia was the first person, come and play with us. Like, we don't care if you're good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, just come out here and play with us. And it was really cool. And then you find out, Tia Stoddard's like an All-American at, All-American from San Diego at Clarkson University, was winning national titles. I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty cool experience. Then seeing them, though, obviously winning it at that big level was beyond cool to see. But again, some great stuff planned for Saturday, as Josh mentioned. Again, we got shaved ice at the ESC. We have some other great things planned. Again, we'll have some community folks joining us as well from the Escondido City Council, Chamber of Commerce, you name it, they'll be there. And plenty of good stuff is coming, though. We will take one last break. When we come back, we'll have more about the league championship final, the league trophy, and why on earth is one of us having this title named after us. That and more after this quick timeout. The Elite Draft League would like to thank the following sponsors for their support of the inaugural 2024 EDL season. Hot Hockey, Biscuit Balm, the North American Roller Hockey Championships, the Roller Hockey Alliance, and Dangle Dojo. I know Ray said that the trophy he's winning on Saturday is beautiful, but probably not for what any of us on this panel expected with the upcoming announcement as we roll on here, folks, on the playoff primer episode of Puck and Roll, again, alongside Josh Fountaine, the San Diego EDL Commissioner, Callan McClurg, back with you, folks, here as we roll on into our final segments here as we, again, kind of get you pumped up and amped up and ready to roll, literally and figuratively, for the upcoming EDL postseason, starting up shop on Saturday with the last doubleheader of the season, on top of the fact as well of the league final coming up on October 12th. But Josh, I was kind of wondering if we should have made the announcement like on a podcast maybe, but I didn't have time on my side because of my work schedule on Sundays. But I do know that there was a time where I had missed 1 week of action in late August to attend a friend's wedding. And I want to say like a couple days later is when I had this massive, bomb dropped at my feet from both you and Gabe. And that was the announcement that then became official this week of the league postseason and the league championship trophy is being named after one of us on this stream and one of us in the front office. And I guess, Josh, maybe can you really tell people? You told me the story because, again, folks, what you probably don't know about myself and Josh, we carpool to every game. I do not drive, in case you were curious. So Josh has been very kind to swing by my home in Linda Vista, and we go up really early in the day. We grab lunch, we grab energy drinks and beer for the lot when it's all said and done. We get up there early to set up shop, though, and then either I go out and kind of just wheel around, or Josh and I both go out. And I never would have thought, Josh, after missing a week of action, that this would lead to something. But I guess, Josh, maybe give our viewers the premise or the plot line about why exactly is the EDL postseason and the title being named after me.
Yeah, Callan, I love our ritual where we carpool up there, we get lunch, and we just talk about life. So it's been a privilege building that friendship with you. You're a top tier human, so it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to that every Saturday. Um, so one of the things that's really important to me is that I surround myself with people that are passionate. They care. That's not how I put it when you and I last talked, but people that are passionate and they care. But
Yes.
that is very important to me. And you're obviously someone that is passionate about the sport of hockey, about what you do, and I've just naturally gravitated to them. And if you remember our first interaction, it was one of those shots in the dark, and I'm a night owl, so I just I'd heard about you through the grapevine. You've been obviously very involved in the hockey scene down here through the San Diego Gulls for a number of years. So just kind of like shot in the dark, like worst thing, worst case scenario, Callan will say, no, I'm not interested in working with the Elite Draft League. And we'll just go our separate ways and we'll figure it out. But sure enough, I get a message back from Callan. He's like, yeah, let's do it. I'd be glad to work with the Elite Draft League and getting this league, up and running. And let me tell you what, folks, having Callan behind the mic for our games has been a big deal. It changes the atmosphere. There was someone when I was at pickup the other week, they didn't know that I was involved with the Elite Draft League, but they're talking to someone that was new to the rink. I think they were from the Monday Night League at Escondido. They're like, yeah, have you heard about the Elite Draft League? It's really an event. They've got an announcer, they've got Callan McClurg. And I was like, there it is. So it's an event. You got to be there. It's a ton of fun. But I think when you put it in the context of a team, you're thinking about people that have talent, but they don't care. If you think about the guy that's on your team that has the talent to score, to go bar down every shift if he wanted to, but for whatever reason, he doesn't want to put the work in. That couldn't be further from Callan. Callan is passionate. He does put the work in, and he's really good at what he does. So I want to surround myself with people that care. So I tried in that 1 week that Callan was talking about that he missed due to the wedding. I stepped in and I tried my best to do my Callan McClurg impression, and I'm balancing ad reads and announcing the goals and doing all that. I couldn't do it. So that's just one more layer on top of Callan's a professional. He knows what he's doing. So without Callan, this would not be the success that it is today. So it was only natural. Me and Gabe, we put our heads together and we're just like, I think we need to name the trophy and the playoff series after Callan. So with that being said, we have the McClurg Champions Cup and the McClurg Champions Cup Playoffs, named after yours truly.
Yeah, and I'll say this much though, as you take a look at the official bracket for the postseason, when in fact we do roll around here. By the way, that logo was made by me. Thank you very much to my good friends at Canva, who I use and abuse so often, and that's where I've made all the templates for, for this podcast and for other things. But I think I wrote this out when I got the official announcement that we had made, or that Josh had made early in the morning, and it mainly was a thing that I had remembered, that someone had told me that, and they live in NorCal, and he had told me that, I don't know much about the sport or about what you do for a living, but I know that you have given your career to do a lot for this sport. And I never once thought about that until I heard that. I'm like, my friend's right. I've been in my field for 16 seasons, and this is a guy who played baseball his whole life and only got hooked on hockey when he was in first grade, and played inline for a long time until my league folded up shop in the early 2000s. And then I realized that more and more people know me, like Josh had said, but it's all regarding hockey. It's not baseball. It's not college athletics. It's not indoor soccer. But more people in this town who know me more for my time spent in the sport of hockey. And that is kind of, I think the genesis about not just the EDL, but I think why Josh and Gabe went that direction, just in my opinion, is it's not just EDL. This guy has been the voice of San Diego hockey, and there's plenty of other people out there who deserve that title more than me. I think of Ron Oakes, who was the longtime Gulls play-by-play announcer back in the '60s, and Brian Main comes to mind. Great friend of mine. He's a great friend of mine who did PA for the Gulls for a long time, and to now have a trophy in a league postseason named after you is something that was never on like the radar or on the bulletin board of like ultimate goals to get. But it's a lot of like what Josh said. It's like you want to surround yourself with good people. There's the old saying about supporting those who support you, but also like-minded individuals. Again, I think that's the reason why I think that I've been able to succeed for so long is just being, good with other people and having good rapport and things of that caliber. And now to be able to have your name plastered on a postseason and a trophy, I mean, that is something extremely special. And again, I think it's mainly more of a, I really don't want to call it a handout, but I want to mainly say it's more of a, it's the recognition of my time in the sport more than it is just EDL. And when I think about that, I think about, the West, my entree to my career was the Western States Hockey League up in Escondido. The Kinseys know very well. Anthony Mata knows very well. Drake DeBerry, who came out to training camp earlier in the summer. I grew up with those guys practically at the rink in Escondido off of Valley Parkway. I was a sophomore in high school working there until I was out of high school, and I got my first job in Division II athletics. And then from there, it's been in the American Hockey League. I have done NHL rookie tournaments. I've done NHL preseason games. I've done a charity tournament at SDIA every August to raise money for a charity. And I think, have to, and Josh could have said his name, but I really have to thank our director of officiating, Scott Silvis, who put Josh in touch with me in mid-April at, I believe it was our last regular season game of the year for the Gulls. And Josh sent me his patent pending paragraph, and I'm just skimming through it. But literally, when I saw the word inline hockey, bingo, because as someone who played the sport, who knows who's known the challenges of trying to get the sport elevated in San Diego County, and has been on the soapbox of why is there not more roller rinks in this town for the sport to be played in when we have the sun out 300 days out of the year, and we don't have to play on tennis courts or on bad concrete on a city street, where we can have our own rink to play like Kit Carson and like Sunset View, like MLK Park in Oceanside, like Forest Ranch, like Castle Park High School. That was why I wanted to give my time to the Elite Draft League here in town. And really from there, we just kind of have taken off, with what we've done with in-game entertainment. Again, I literally sat down like the day after I said I'm in and began working on the goal music for Del Mar, North County, for Mission Bay, for Temecula. How would I go about announcing everyone's name? Because literally, and I do this with every event I do, I bring my A game from the AHL and Major League Baseball to every event I do. I don't care if it's a 12 and under baseball game or a little league game with 7-year-olds. They're gonna get the pro experience, and I have wanted to deliver that for Josh, for Gabe, for Wes, for AJ, for Noe, for Matt, for all the guys in the league, and for those who come though. Like, I want you to feel like you're at a Gulls game or at an Angels game. Again, I work for the Angels kind of here and there indirectly with them, or one of my college games. I've long believed that you have to bring that experience to your event, whether it's in front of 10 people, 10,000 people, or 100,000 at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. That every event deserves your best effort. And I know there's been a lot of times, and I can attest to this, and I know a lot of my friends can attest to it. I got pretty sick last hockey season at the very end of the year, and wasn't my best, but I still went out there and grinded and tried to get through the game as best I could. And now we kind of in a way put a cherry on top for my announcing career in hockey. But again, I've given 15 of my 16 years of my time to this sport, in a market like San Diego, where again, it's not on the upper tier. This is a baseball town, it's a soccer town. It used to be an American football town, but I've long believed San Diego's been a hockey town. And I think it's been that way since the 60s when the Gulls first came here, when the WHA came here, when so many other teams have come here. And I even think when we had the roller team here in the mid 90s at the sports arena playing the Bullfrogs and the Rhinos and the Voodoo and the Blades and all those teams back then. And I was very young when they played and I didn't get a chance to see them. But especially having been in the inline community, I played through the Mission Valley YMCA when I was about, I'd say, 7 years old through my age 10 or 11 year. And then sadly our league got tanked because of participation had gone down. The rink became an indoor soccer field at Claremont High School. And I've wanted so desperately to give my time back to that sport because it gave me so much when I was younger. And now being able to do it because of people like Josh, because of Gabe, because of people like Wes and AJ and Noe, who all deserve to have a league like the EDL in their hometown. And again, this is something that we can all be proud of, regardless if you're on the ice side of things or the inline, if you're both. We can be proud of what the Elite Draft League has built here in 10 weeks of gameplay. And now going into, it's just very weird for me to say, the McClurg Champions Cup Playoffs. And I know that Josh is working. We are working on getting the trophy unveiled. But I know, Josh, we have a very, I'd say, intriguing way we're going to do this, man. Can you maybe eliminate a little bit about what you and I have planned right now for the actual unveiling of the trophy?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. So as we talked about at the beginning of the season, even during the pre-planning, was we wanted this to be representative of the players in the San Diego metro area. So we've got the Mission Bay Ospreys, the Del Mar Bandits, the North County Surfers, and the Temecula Vineyard Vipers. And I know your feelings on including Temecula in that, but there's a significant contingent of Temecula area hockey players that come to San Diego to play hockey. So one of the ways that we're going to do it, and this is going to be a fun social media post, is we're going to have the trophy in each of those regions that represent those teams in San Diego. So I'm super excited to do that. So keep an eye on Stay Frosty for that social media announcement, but we'll be revealing the trophy there. That will be, I believe, not this week, but the next week we'll be posting that. So, of course, we'll be doing lots of content surrounding your games. Obviously, Ray Kinsey is going to get lots of attention with that photo shoot there, giving him the top scorer trophy. So, a lot more content to go, even though we're on the final, couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, plenty of content. Josh and I have been talking about basically kind of like a de facto like tour of the trophy, kind of in a way. Not really like a day with the trophy, but what we are planning right now is very cool when it comes to content. I can maybe say just a little bit. We're going to kind of take this trophy, and I told this to Josh, I think plain as day, maybe last week, I want to say, when we kind of got the idea going, is that since this is a San Diego league, this trophy will be represented at some of the most notable places in town. Think of Balboa Park, think of Belmont Park, Spanish Landing Park, Cabrillo National Monument. We're going to do like a little bit of like a media blitz kind of in a way, just to kind of, show the trophy off at some different locations. But we're we're still a week away from kind of in a way nailing down those, nailing all that down. We kind of have a very short list. We will say, though, that we will have the trophy for one of the photo shoots at the Escondido Sports Center. It's only right. It is our home rink. It's stuff like that. But look for the trophy to be at some pretty cool places around town. I can just kind of say that. We won't really go too far in depth of where we've picked. We have a list of like 10 to 20 spots already picked. I'm going to be asking for more ideas. And then Josh and I and Gabe will probably put our heads together after we finish up shop on Saturday to go from there with where we're going to be taking the trophy on its Grand Circle Tour of America's Finest City. With that, Mr. Commish, great program on the hour mark. Josh, any kind of closing thoughts here as you put a bow on this playoff primer? And, man, I'm already ready to get to the rink tomorrow, man, at this rate. My goodness, let's roll.
I am raring. I'm raring, Callan. No, I think that the energy has been fantastic all season. So I only expect that to be ratcheted up a notch or two. But I expect great battles on the rink tomorrow. Friendly battles. Keep it friendly, boys. Friendly battles on the rink and leading up to the final championship on October 12th is going to be a lot of fun.
So again, folks, tomorrow, Saturday, September 28th, League semifinals. Again, we have Del Mar facing off with Temecula, and then the late game will be North County and Mission Bay. The winners will punch their ticket to the the McClurg Champions Cup Finals on October 12th at 7 p.m. for all the marbles. And also, Josh, we've got to mention real quick as well, there's also another prize on the line other than just the trophy.
This is true. The good folks over at The Answer is Yes have contributed $1,000. So our friend Kevin Sumstein is going to be presenting that check on October 12th. The $1,000 to the championship winner. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be handing out the championship trophy, the league MVP wrestling belt, and a $1,000 check to the winners on October 12th. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Take notes, NHL. We're going to do it way better than the Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup coming up on October 12th. Way better. But again, we will have that. But again, folks, we'll have the official unveiling of the actual championship trophy. Again, I believe we're looking at either next Friday, maybe next Sunday, the 6th. Again, just when the trophy comes to Josh's residence or whenever our schedules free up, when time does allow. But again, we'll have some very great content coming your way for the official unveiling of the McClurg Champions Cup for the San Diego EDL coming up in a couple of days. One last thought real quick. A couple of thoughts, actually. Our good man Alfredo writes in a quick shout out to Josh. What's up, my man? I told you that I would tune in tonight. Sorry I'm late. You had my legs shaking from the full body massage you gave me on Monday. You were definitely worth the $50, my glazed honey bun. Can't wait to feel your hands all over every inch of my body again this weekend. Oh, boy.
That smells like spam. That seems like a spammy comment right there. Gracious.
That has to be for sure.
Has to be.
Also, real quick, a shout out again to our good man Wes Langlow saying 100% job well done, Callan. Again, Wes, thanks again for everyone going forward. With that, folks, in mind, for Mr. Commish, Josh Fountaine, and myself, Cal McClurg, and for our other contributor to our show, Gabe John, who again could not make it this evening, sadly, due to being under the weather. We will see you folks back here, as mentioned, coming up at this rate on Saturday for the EDL postseason, starting up shop on Saturday evening here at the Escondido Sports Center, folks. Until next time, we'll see you then. Till then, have a good night. Bye-bye. The Elite Draft League would once again like to thank the following sponsors for their unwavering support of the inaugural 2024 EDL season. Craft Coast Brewery and Taco Stand. Play It Again Sports, Scripps Mira Mesa. The Answer's Yes. Roller Dad News. The Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. Hockey Night Insider. R&R Productions. Wild Dog Marketing. H3 Hockey. Biscuit Balm. The North American Roller Hockey Championships. The Roller Hockey Alliance. And Dangle Dojo. The Coast to Coast Entertainment Network would like to thank their proud sponsors for their support of C2C programming. Beside Me Bracelets. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. Reaper Apparel Company. And Good Day Embroidery.